with the laptop in your environment. And remember, Pantera is agentless. You didn't need to install any agent in any of your endpoints or your devices. So from this scan is an example of one of the customers that we've deployed. So I just took a few screenshots. Do not mind if you see me graying out some of the areas. So this is something we call a kill chain. And remember, this is a user environment. So the user environment, we're just going to plug in Pantera. And again, Pantera's role is not to come and crack your passwords. We're just showing, the power of Pantera. So once we scan your environment, it's going to show you, one, the leaked credentials, that is from the Pantera surface. And now the beauty, we can now correlate what we have scanned from the Pantera surface, which are leaked credentials on the dark web, in your internal environment too. So if you look at this kill attack chain, it's a very long, you can see the very many dotted from, it comes from a 1.0 up to by the time it emulates an attack. So just zoom it a bit. You can see when you zoom it a bit, you can go to exact detail, and Pantera will tell you how did we get into environment? How did we get the password? For instance, in this example, a user was trying to log in via RDP. But what does RDP, when you're doing your remote desktop, you do? You're going to enter your domain / your username and password. But what happens most of the time? We never forget our passwords, but we never know whether it's a /, it's a /, name it. But by the time your server will prompt you to log in, what do? You enter your password, say okay, then it will fail. Invalid username or password. But remember, you just entered the right password. So Pantera at this moment can see your password. It will act as a man in the middle. And we have mitigation and threats. You can see, now we're going to see how Pantera will tell you how to set whatever server you have, not to have this kind of challenge. Now, Pantera doesn't stop there once it gets your password. And remember, it's not a brute force attack. Remember, we said we're doing this in a live environment in a safe way. So we're doing a reverse hash. So once we can see a hash, we'll do a reverse hash, and immediately we can see the password in clear text. But the Pantera doesn't end there. Now, the next thing Pantera will do, like a normal hacker. Now remember, when you're doing your settings for be it the Pantera core or the Pantera cloud, you can have these Pantera act as a very mature hacker or a very noisy hacker where they touch on everything and you see all your security tools will always be catching Pantera trying to do something. But when you have Pantera act very silently, it will be like this one hacker where once we get the password, what do we do next? And on this emulation, you can see the kill chain. It goes all the way until it emulates a ransomware attack. Now, Pantera doesn't end there. You need to know the fix, right? So remember, Pantera doesn't fix it, and Pantera wants to show you how to fix it. On this screen grab again, you can see on the top right corner, there's a blue tab called Simulate Fix. So when you click on the Simulate Fix, it will give you a description. And remember, you can simulate a fix on any point. So for instance, you cannot simulate a fix maybe on point number 3, because maybe you need a WAF, a web application file that you don't have, or you need something on API security, like was presented yesterday with one of our speakers. And maybe you don't have. You can go above in the kill chain and see, what if I clicked on 8.8, like what I'm saying. You see on the 8.8 where, maybe I'll just try and read it out from here. On the 8.8, it's where it's exploited a point nightmare CVE. You can simulate a fix from that point, and straight away, you have click more down, way below down there. So once you click more, Pantera goes in depth, and you can see this is not from the web. Pantera is not loading this from your website, from any website or a public facing. Remember, this is internal, and this is Pantera database. And Pantera sends you updates, and it auto-updates just the same way it auto-validates. So just be sure you always have insight on how to do these settings. Now, Pantera doesn't end there. It even shows you screenshots on what you need to change on that server. So remember, Pantera is not changing this for you. And this is an automated scan. So you can have it weekly, you can have it daily, and you see it's bridging the gap between the red and the blue team. So what are we saying? Pantera is agentless, it is real. It acts like a real attacker in a safe way in the environment. So we're going to start from your network recon. We do the vulnerability assessment, what some people will call the pen test. We sniff the credentials, we crack the passwords, and again, remember these are reverse hash, it's not a brute force attack. We do malware injection, we gather data, we do lateral movement like a normal hacker would do in your environment. We privilege escalate. So for example, on the first example that I just shown you, where Pantera comes into your environment, we got a password, leaked credential, we, based on somebody that was just trying to RDP a normal user, we look for this user. If it's not, the user doesn't have elevated rights, then straight away, we can use the same username and password to find a compromised credential, which has elevation. So after we elevate, we can even delete the admin. And once we do all this, and you get your report, Pantera does a cleanup. So whatever Pantera did in your environment will be reversed, and you still have a clean bill of health. So that is the point of the POV when you're doing a proof of value or a proof of concept. But remember, in your environment, this is something that you'll always be playing with your red team and your blue team. So just to wind up, as I wind up, you're going to get a detailed report from Pantera. So it will show you how many passwords were leaked, and it will show you in clear text. It can show you username and password. If you want that, you'll get that report with those username and passwords, both on the, so the Pantera Cloud and Surface would have the leaked credentials based on the environment. Then we'll have the Pantera Surface where we get it from the dark webs and the cloud where your hackers sell your credentials. So again, remember Pantera does ethical exploits and there's no simulations, just as a recap. And again, ongoing delivery of the latest top exploits. So when you have Pantera, you will always have an engineer assigned to you to always help you what to monitor and interpret some of the CVEs that maybe don't have a team to help you with that. And the next question comes, then how do we license? It is as simple as the number of IPs that you want to protect. So when we do a POV, a proof of concept with you, and directly we can know how many IP addresses. You can have your third-party tools that can help you with the scan. And style, again, you can start with the number of IP addresses, like maybe 1,000, 2,000, depends with what you have in the environment. So again, we talk good about ourselves, like every single person here, I'm sure, says the mother is the best in cooking some soft chapatis. But again, what about the third parties where we have the analysts, we have your Gartners, your Forrester Waves, and all that. So again, we lead in this space, so take your time, read the reports. If you need any information on Pantera, an in-depth presentation you need to see this work in your environment, please always reach out to our partners, CyberPro, and we can always be very obliged to walk the journey with you. So I'm sure maybe questions will come later, so if you have, and that was my time. Thank you very much.
So I think, Derek, we need to add another D before your name, so that abbreviation of your name is DDO, Derek Owino. Guys, you're not getting the joke? All right, so in the interest of time, I want us to rush a little. I want to invite somebody who has traveled all the way to Kenya from Ghana, Mr. Kujo Theophilus, to have a speech from the Parliament of Ghana addressed to Cyberweek. We are Cyberweek, you and I, we are Cyberweek. So I will request him to take just 5 minutes if possible. It's not really the time to speak, but just to read the speech, and then we will go to the next speaker. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. He didn't mention the name properly, so I will do it myself. So the name is Theophilus Kujo Lumo from Ghana's Parliament. Thank you. I bring you warm greetings from the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, Right Honorable Speaker Ford Bagbin, the Deputy Clerk, Divisional Head, Dr. Mrs. Grasa Kukumawu, the Acting Director ICT, Mr. Leslie Ni Te Adiko, all of Parliament of Ghana. It's an honor to stand before you today to discuss critical topic that affect every aspect of our increasingly digital world, the cybersecurity workforce. As we dive into the complexities of this growing field, it's essential to understand the current trends, challenges, and opportunities shaping the cybersecurity industry. Cybersecurity state of the industry. The cybersecurity landscape is changing rapidly, with cyber attacks becoming more frequent, sophisticated, and damaging. Global cybercrime costs are projected to reach 10.5 trillion annually by 2025, affecting every industry from finance to healthcare. The alarming statistics highlight the urgent need for a well-equipped cybersecurity workforce to protect critical infrastructures. Despite the growing need for security professionals, the industry faces a massive talent shortage in 2023. There were an estimated 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs worldwide, with demand driven by rapid business digitalization, cloud adoption, and stricter data privacy regulations. Cybersecurity requires a broad range of expertise, and the following roles are essential to maintaining the secure digital environment. Security analyst, responsible for monitoring and responding to security incidents. Ethical hackers, pen testers, tasked with identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities to help strengthen systems. Cloud security engineers, ensure the safety of cloud infrastructure. Threat intelligence analysts, analyze and anticipate emerging threats. Incident response, act quickly to contain and minimize and damage caused by cyber attacks. Emerging roles like AI security specialists and DevSecOps engineers highlight the need for new skills in cybersecurity, integrate deeper into advanced technologies and development practices. Challenges in the cybersecurity workforce. Despite the high demand of professionals, the cybersecurity industry faces several challenges. One, skill gap. There is a clear gap between the demand of cybersecurity expertise and the availability of trained professionals. Graduates often lack hands-on experience, and certifications are critical to advanced roles. Diversity shortfalls. Women make up only about 24% of global cybersecurity workforce, and regional disparities in talent distribution exacerbate the shortage. Continuous learning. Cybersecurity professionals must stay updated on the latest threats and evolving technologies, requiring continuous learning and adaptability. Education, training pathways. There are various pathways for entering cybersecurity field. Traditional education. Degrees in information security, cyber computer science, and network engineering form the foundation. Certifications such as CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP, Cisco certifications, CyberOps, Associate validate advanced skill sets. Pathways. Boot camps and online courses offer intensive hands-on training, Internship and apprenticeship provides practical experience and network opportunities essential for bridging the gap between education and real-world application. Addressing the skill gap required for strategic effort. Upskilling programs. Many organizations are investing in in-house training and scholarship programs to help their employees stay up to date. Mentorship and community engagement. Mentorship programs can guide new entrants into the field, while participations in cybersecurity competitions and open source projects helps develop practical skills. Automations and AI integrations. While AI can automate routine tasks, human expertise will remain vital for strategy, risk management, and critical decision making. Future of cybersecurity workforce. Looking ahead, several factors will shape the future of cybersecurity workforce. AI and automation. These technologies will enhance efficiency but won't replace the need for human critical thinking and strategic insight. Global collaboration. Cyber threats are global, requiring cybersecurity professionals to work across borders, time zones, and industries, as we are doing here today. Call to action. To ensure we build a robust cybersecurity workforce, we all have a role to play. Industry leaders, invest in continuous education, foster diversity, and create a culture of inclusion. Aspiring cybersecurity professionals, take advantage of hands-on learning, seek mentorship, and remain adaptable as the landscape evolves. Educational institution. Cooperate with industry experts and ensure curricula remain relevant and align with latest technologies and threats. As I bring my presentation to a conclusion, cyber threats continue to rise. Cybersecurity workforce must evolve to make these challenges. By fostering education, collaboration, and diversity, we can build a resilient, adaptive, and well-prepared cybersecurity industry. The future of our digital world depends on the strength and adaptability of this workforce, and together we can safeguard it. Cybersecurity and challenges are dynamic and ever-evolving, requiring constant attention, research, and discussion among experts like we are here today. I highly commend the organizers of this forum and look forward to many more such discussions in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Parliament of Ghana, for the message. The message is well received. And I'm sorry for calling your name in a wrong way, but that is how I've pronounced it in Kenya. All right, Sindio guys. All right, so I'm going to take only 2 questions, and then the other questions we can do them later on because we're a little bit out of the time. That is in case we do have a question. Please, let's have a mic here. 1, 2. Okay. Mic? So only 2 questions. Wow, I'm looking at the schedule that we have today, and I can only see richness in knowledge and wisdom. And please remind me to tell you why I've said richness by welcoming the next speaker who will be coming on stage.
Question to Dr. Miriti, and borrowing from what Derek has presented, indicating that around 15,000 vulnerability experience every year. When you have models, AI models, do you retrain these particular models again so that you'll be able to capture the ever-evolving cybersecurity threats? Because if you train the model using maybe data that was maybe several years back, and new vulnerability are increasing, will that model be effective? And the other question is to Derek. About Pantera, I would want to know about how it deals with zero-day vulnerability when you're doing validation, and what's the difference between that and XDR and NDR that are able to both validate your threats and as well as address them. Because why would you tell me about the problem I'm having and you're not helping me to resolve that particular problem unless you're an auditor, so to speak? So I'd want those two questions to be addressed by Derek.
Issue in the health sector, all right? That is it. I think we will start with the please, Dr. Miriti and then Derek.
Thank you, Dr. Kamau. As you know, yeah, there's something called concept drift, where the concepts that a model was trained on are no longer valid or are no longer applicable. So, of course, you have to retrain. The question is, where do you get new data? The new data, you can get it, first of all, we can have collaborations, data, but you can also have it from anomaly detection. The reason we talk of anomaly detection being one of the techniques is because it's supposed to detect any new techniques that or any new threats or emerging patterns that may not have been captured in your previous solutions. So these are emerging patterns. Then you are supposed to decide if they present new or emerging threats. And this you can add them to your training data. So definitely you need to be that you have to have continuous improvement.
Thank you, sir, for that. Derek? Can we please have another microphone there?
So, like what just happened is mic will not work. But now the question is, how would you know? So, look at Pantera today. Just to clarify, Pantera is not a security tool; it's a security validation tool. So, the zero-day, look at Pantera as the zero-day threat. Look at Pantera as the one testing environment. So, you have your XDRs, your EDRs, and your firewalls. But the next question is, how do you know when an attacker will come into your environment? Where are you vulnerable? So if you talk about the zero-day threat, will act as a red team in your environment, and we're going to put your environment into test.
Okay, thank you so much, Derek, for responding to that. Now, in the interest of time, I want us to go to the next speaker. But in case you have all the questions, just have them with you. We will be able to have another session for Q&A, and I'm sure the speakers will still be around. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember I told you to remind me why I said richness. So, I'll not say the name. I will start by, he is the Deputy Director, Cybersecurity, that is the CISO at the Central Bank of Kenya. Yeah, you remember richness? He was previously the head of cybersecurity at Safaricom PLC, and prior to that, he held various leadership roles within cybersecurity in the same company for over 12 years. He's a seasoned IT leader with a wealth of experience in providing thought leadership in cybersecurity risk management through strategic thinking and decision making. He oversees the cybersecurity division and plays a lead role in the delivery of the bank's cybersecurity strategy, while driving the operational capabilities to protect the Central Bank of Kenya. Now I have to say the name. James Yogo combines strong organizational management and leadership skills with a high degree of technical knowledge and hands-on information security experience. He holds a master's degree in computer science, of course, from the University of Nairobi, and has several professional certifications and currently a PhD student at JKUAT. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome James Yogo.
Thanks, Dunstan. And with all protocols observed, morning, everyone. Yes, so we'll just quickly start. I think they were testing my BCP, and I can tell you I was ready. I was just counting on my SLA. Then I kickstart the discussion without that, but thanks to the team. All right, so today we'll quickly just get to tackle a bit on cybersecurity risk management. And I know within the room I have the academia. I have Dr. Meriti, who was my lecturer at Nairobi University. Thanks so much, Dr. I would like to inform you that I'm right behind you, closely following in your footsteps. Yeah, and sooner or later, we'll be there, right? But today, I think my presentation is more inclined towards industry. If only I knew there was a bit around academia, then I would have spent a bit of my slides. I would have presented a milestone here, just for me to see if that will help me move to the next level, right? Otherwise, thanks, team. So let me just remind you, I don't know how many of us within the room remember this bout. Thank you. The reason why I choose on this specific bout, right, is that it was the most paid bouts in history. And as he said, the contestants here are Mayweather versus money, right? It was a serious one for those who watched, right? And we are saying from statistics that one of the fighters here was an offensive monster, right? And destroyed legions, right? And others, and the other was a defensive genius and ended his career undefeated, right? We are again reminded that Mayweather, for that specific bout, right, landed 34% of his total punches versus 18% for money, right? We are told, right, that his power shots were less frequent but very effective, right? Reason for that is that he ducked and dodged everyone who posed a serious threat to him, right? That was Mayweather, 50-0, right? So one of the things we pick from that, as we speak, when we look at the wider cybersecurity landscape, right, and digitization or digital transformation, right, from where we sit as cyber specialists, it's more or less a cat and mouse game. More or less a cat and mouse game. The reason we are saying that digital disruption is like cyber attacks are real and expect a smack on your face anytime, right? Just to remind us, of course, the history of the internet, which forms the baseline and the whole framework around all these digitization journeys and concepts we are talking about, right? Of course, we had Web 0, 1.0 into what we are currently calling Web 5.0, which brings in aspects around metaverse, 3D, a lot of use of AI, name it, right? So there has been milestones, there has been evolution of technologies, and today we are where we are because of all this. Now, just a bit of statistics and facts, right? Just a bit of statistics and facts. I think I have the advantage of coming for the first time today. So I'm not so much aware of what you've covered, but let's just cover this, right? Today we are talking about 8 billion users across the world, right? Out of the 8 billion, we have 5.6, right, with mobile phones, right? Then we have around 5.3 with smartphones. That's a big percentage. Let me just come down to the lower statistics. So you are seeing growth. The digital growth in population year on is 0.9. That's close to 1%. But then look at that statistic, the next one, right? Where we're saying that for subscribers, mobile subscribers, the increase year on is approximately plus 2.5, which is big. So it's a matter of time before that catches up with the population, right? So in as much as today we are talking about, that's close to 60% thereabout, right? In the nearest future, that gap will be close to near 90%, right? And that is big. To your right, again, you're seeing statistics. I think of importance to me is the one that is showing the number of created and removed fake accounts, right, for Facebook every 1 minute. That is big. That number is big. So that tells you that out there are people who are busy, not with the right stuff, but with the wrong stuff. Okay? Now, 3 main technologies that actually have catapulted digital transformation are these. The main technologies that have catapulted digital technologies are the social bit, right? Social media, the aspect around mobility, the aspect around big data and analytics, which is powered by AI, machine learning, which has been talked about here, right? Internet of Things, those are big areas around technology. And to an extent, when you look at them, those are the main components that have actually accelerated digital transformation to where it is today, right? And key drivers being user needs, right? Key drivers being internet acceleration, key drivers being the mobility or the mobile device availability and affordability. So that has been big, right? Just to take this specific, the social media aspect alone, right? Today we are told that the average amount of time people spend on the internet, right, is 2 hours, 20 minutes, thereabout. on the average per day. And these statistics are from statistica.com. And it's a research environment or academia, so reference is important, right? And Facebook logins every minute is close to 1 million, right? And still we are being told that Facebook is the greatest, right? World's most popular media owner without any content. Those are big stats as we speak. And of course, we are told that what happens in Las Vegas, what happens in Nairobi, right, remains where? Social media. Could be Facebook, could be Twitter, wherever. That's big. Another important and interesting one is that in 1 of 3 marriages, right, a big percentage, the first encounter was on social media, right? The first contact, I can see someone was smiling. True or false? Right? Let's be free. Yeah, that's a big one. So much to the Gen Z. And even other generations as well. And that is important. Social media is key, right? Most of the purchases online are influenced, right? Are influenced by what your counterparts do. Today, if I see Dunstan, for example, get to buy something online, for sure I'll get that confidence, and I'll go for the same, right? So the aspect around social media is big, and it has driven us to where we are today with digital transformation. Mobile, very important. For some of us who work, right, it's approvals on the go, right? It's work while you're on bed, right? It's work while you're on holiday, right? So that is big as well. And one of the key strategies that is leading this, because of user requirements, because of user journeys, right, we get to adopt mobile-first strategy for most of the apps that we get to have. To make it easier for that user, from wherever he is, he should be in a position to push business. He should be in a position to work. If it's a class assignment, that student should be in a position to continue and go ahead. All right? Then we have big data and AI, right? Which I think has been spoken about. It's a big area. AI for good, AI for bad, big area, right? But the for good aspect is big because it propels analytics, right? It gives us that ability to get to have better decision making because of the reports, because of the insights, and so on and so forth. And this remains big. It's being said that at the beginning of 2020, the number of data bytes in the digital universe, right, was 40 times bigger than the number of stars in the observable universe. Quote again from World Economic Forum, right? Then we have the other big one, which is cloud, whether multi-cloud, whether single cloud, it's big, right? And for sure it has brought stability to some of the key services that we have, right? It has brought a lot of stability. Whether cheap or not is a discussion for another day. But it has brought a lot of stability and efficiency on how businesses do work, right? And we're being told, of course, that 82% are adopting hybrid for reasons that we may be aware of, right? And of course, key concerns around cloud, even internally within Kenya, is on privacy and data protection. That is big. It gets to help you determine how easy it is for you to move from your on-prem to the cloud. More so when you're talking about PII. At what point do you get the go-ahead, right? Or do you get to comply to the local regulations? So much for this country, and even GDPR as well, for those who are touched. All right? Internet of Things sounds new, but not new. It has been there with us, right? Since 1982. Coca-Cola did the first POC, or proof of concept, very many years ago, right? But today, as we speak, it's driving quite a number of use cases. And some of them you can see down there, right? Smart homes, right? Smart retailing, smart supply chain, etc. All right? So with all this, right, what we are seeing is an increased digital attack surface. An increased digital attack surface. In as much as today we can approve on the go. In as much as today you can transact M-Pesa from wherever you are. You can pay your bills very early in the morning. You can pay your bills from wherever. You can pay an hostel bill right in the county from wherever you are, across the world. There are disadvantages to that. And that is what we are talking about today in terms of digital attack surface. And we are seeing, of course, when you talk about cyber, I don't know whether this had been cited before, but this is something that, to an extent, we saw crystallizing around 1971, right? And we are talking about the creeper, right? Developed in a lab, an educational lab like this, to an extent, right? So the guy did a very nice program that could actually get to replicate itself within the mainframes and leave a trail across, right? His colleague, seeing a very interesting pattern, said, hey, let me do something as well, right? So he went ahead to create another program that could actually look for lack of a better word, right, the creeper and wipe off, right, or disable capabilities around moving from one mainframe to the other. And that was the first antivirus, around 1971 thereabout. But today, as we speak, a lot has happened. We've seen quite a number of milestones across, right? I know a lot has been mentioned here, but just to highlight as we speak, of course, when you look at that scale, the sophistication level is growing higher by the day, right? The targeted assets or crown jewels, I know Professor talked about the same earlier, is also increasing, largely because of what I've spoken about, right? So we are seeing all that, right? Quite a number of 0 days has been mentioned earlier. Quite a number of APTs every now and again. We're seeing tens, right? Tens of ransomware every other minute, which is big and looks scary, right? Which is big and looks scary. I know some of us really are well aware of what is happening and are doing something. The reason that we just need to crystallize and get the best out of what we are doing. In terms of impact around cyber, has been big as well and continues to be big. First, of course, you expect direct costs, right? So in a case of a cyber incident, expect to pay that for professional services for investigations, right? If not to an external party, then it's your team spending time. And that is money, right? That is money. And I have examples there. Regulatory sanctions. I know in Kenya we have, I am seeing my good friend from NC4 here as well, Daktari. I guess we'll be talking about it. But when you talk about compliance as well, right? What is it that is required of you in a case of an incident, right? So there are aspects around regulations. Sanctions may come into place because of this as well, right? And that is big. And of course, there's aspect of loss of revenue for businesses that deal with money, right? We have indirect costs as well. Increased cyber insurance. In case you are on an insurance, just like any other insurance type, right? In case of an incident around cyber, the expectation is that in the next renewal, that should go higher, right? Because you're vulnerable, you are exposed, and you have to get to counter that before that comes down. Customer fraud, another big one, yeah? Class action lawsuit is another big one as well. But then we are also talking about intangible costs. Damage to brand is big. We've seen executive transitions before. And most of us are aware that today the person accountable around this, right, is the board and management. We've seen such happen, executive transitions. A good example is the Equifax one a few years ago, right? Merger values go down, right? So the brand beat is big. And just for me to quickly close on that. Now, for us to close in, for us to really get to close in, resilience is needed, right? And for us to bring the aspect of resilience, just key concepts or key areas that should be key to us. The first is on governance, right? Getting management approvals, getting management buy-ins, having the right policies, having the right structures in place is big, right? All right? But even as we do that, there is need that you align to business needs. The second bit is risk assessments. Analyze these risks, analyze these threats. Out of that, do a proper plan of how to mitigate. But then again, another key concept that needs to be taken care of is integrating security with resilience. right from a process perspective, technology, and people. And so might the people bit. Very important, right? You can do everything you can with money. Buy all the technologies you can. I know one of us talked about defense in depth earlier. Buy all the technologies you can. The board can approve the money, right? But if you don't work on the people, then that remains a very, very big loophole. Okay. Then skill set, more so around the technologies we have all talked about, is important. Because again, you cannot get to protect what you have no idea about, right? You have to get some tips around the latest. For you to protect API security, as an example, you have to know what API is and what it does. For you to protect big data or a data lake, you have to appreciate the concepts around big data and data analytics as well, right? Then the other big bit is readiness and flexibility. And that is the biggest. You have to be cyber ready, right? Your hygiene has to be proper. The same way every other morning you brush your shoes, you get to brush your teeth, you get to shower or freshen up. It's the same way we need to handle the cyberspace as well, right? So that is important. Incident response plan. Again, it said that for most institutions, it's just about time, right? So what you're doing about your management around cybersecurity incidents is big. So you need to have the right incident response plans, and not just having them, but testing them regularly to ensure that each and every person or stakeholder within that institution, right, is well appraised and knows its responsibility in case of a cyber incident. Then cyber assurance is very big as well, because again, from a level perspective, you can only get to fully counter cyber threats when you kind of take a three-tier model of sorts. So you have the cybersecurity teams taking in level 1, right? Then you have the risk management team coming at level 2. Then you have the third level by internal audit, which can play into external audits, which can also play into third party or independent audits, just to give you that fourth, fifth level of assurance around your deployments. Okay? Then intelligence around cyber is another big one, right? You cannot protect what you do not know. You have to get to know that there is a loophole within that crown jewel, right, that was talked about earlier. You have to get to know that there is a loophole on that externally facing service that you sell to your customers for you to have the right detective, right, and preventive controls as well. All right? And even as you do that, collaboration is key with industry. But even from a personal perspective, it is important that you employ what I talked about earlier, cyber hygiene. Protect yourself right from social media. Do not share the data that you wouldn't want to see out there to the public or to social media. And just ensure that the basics are kept as basics, right? Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you so much, JY, for that. His close friends call him JY. Please allow me to call you JY for the amazing presentation. Now, I want us to have one more item, and then we can break for tea, just one more, in the interest of time. I would like us to have a panel discussion on cybersecurity industry workforce. And the panelists, we have Mr. Patrick Keegan from the judiciary. Please welcome to the stage. We have James Hyogo, of course, karibu for the panel. We have Dr. Tamrat. Please welcome for the panel. Mr. Wanjala Bairam. If you're around, please welcome to the stage. We have got, now I'm afraid of calling that name, the Parliament of Ghana. Please welcome to the stage. Derek, DDO, I'm manifesting for you. Mr. Wino Derek, please welcome to the stage. And finally, we have Dr. David Njoga. Please welcome to the panel. panel discussion. And last but not least, I want to welcome the moderator for that session, Mr. Mwendo Benjamin. This is the last item, guys, then we break for tea. Microphones?
Can we please have microphones for the panelists? Thank you very much. Cybersecurity industry workforce is actually the theme of our conference. And today we are glad to have all this talent from academia, industry, and government. We have students and lecturers and teachers. We have people who are not trained on cybersecurity, people who do not understand what is this cybersecurity we are talking about. The workforce. What is the workforce? Cybersecurity workforce. Now I have a couple of questions which each speaker, it's an open mic. They are not technical. We just need to understand how we train, who gets trained, what they do, what is the responsibility of the industry, what is the responsibility of government, what is the responsibility of the industry in terms of industry workforce. And just to run through, what are cybersecurity jobs? That's question number one. Briefly, we'll go through them. And then there is cybersecurity can be difficult to teach in a classroom. How do we teach cybersecurity? We'll begin with our friend from Ghana.
Thank you very much. I think that to understand the cybersecurity, you first need to understand the space you operate, the security that required you to get the space secured. If you have these focal points in mind, you will understand what the cybersecurity is. And then the training. There are a lot of courses out there. It depends on your interest first and what you intend to learn. If you look at cybersecurity today, we have a lot of people doing so many things, dependent on the interest you have, the background you have, and then the understanding. If you are into network security, there is an aspect for you to venture. If you're into application, there's an aspect for you to venture in terms of cybersecurity. So you can't have one person doing a whole lot for himself. You have to define your role, define your specialization, and then you build a skill set on it. Thank you.
So, morning once again. So, on this question is a bit tricky, and I have different opinions on how to answer this. So, one, if you're asking about how to train, what kind of looks like, what kind of a course you should be doing. So, one is training is broad. We do trainings again as vendors, as partners, as technology partners. We have institutions that do these trainings. We have them locally. Some needs to be done internationally. Again, we have on the go where you invest in a technology, you do the in-house training, then straight away you can come up to speed. Now, coming to that, that is always of interest to me has been, how do you advise somebody? I've got this question many times. My son needs to do IT. What should they do? So honestly, I would say our universities and learning institutions, thanks to Nairobi universities and all the mainstream universities that we have in the region. So they're now introducing a few curriculums like certification courses, which again, it doesn't end there. Like today, I will not say there's anybody in this room that would say they were born a security engineer. That would be a lie. So either you are the best networking guy then, or you are sacrificed by your company to do this so-called security job. Some, we would call ourselves security engineers, and the more you think you know, actually you notice you know nothing. So I'll always say, first of all, they have to pass through the learning institutions, have the common knowledge, know your ports, know the general security, and slowly by slowly, you can now then understand what you like. Some people would go into applications. Some people would go into networking, which definitely security will be unavoidable. And gone are the days where I get calls from home. You're in IT, they send me a phone that is broken. Myself, I have a broken phone. So yeah. So I think it's a wide topic, and as we go step by step, we always need to have more of these forums, thanks to CyberPro. So this kind of forums is where they need to get the direction, the kind of vendors that like.
If I would give my voice to this discussion, certainly give a divergent opinion to what has been presented by the first two colleagues. I look at cybersecurity training slightly different. One, it is really understanding the technology platforms that are used to manage that information. Okay, so it is part of that, that initiative to understand the technology platforms, but also the business space which that technology is trying to enhance its business processes. From my experience of training in cybersecurity, I look at it as more of a personal calling, drive, passion, determination to pursue a career or practice in cybersecurity. And above all, from where I sit, the towers of security, with the bird's eye view, we look at it that one more thing that needs to be blended, and that should come first, is ethics. In the national context, we talk about patriotism, because understanding and being able to use the technologies in itself is a good thing, but then the correct use of the technologies, of the tools, and so on, that is where we differentiate between a cybersecurity person and a cyber criminal. So then I look at that requirement to build what we call cyber warriors, those who are really up to the mission of being in the business of cybersecurity, that is protecting national cyberspace, to be those people who really have some mastery of technology, some mastery of business, as well as embedment with the required ethics and patriotism to protect the businesses if they are private businesses, or to protect the nation if they are really alive to the fact that cybersecurity is national security. So again, I don't prescribe to a formal curriculum in terms of achieving the skills required to be in cybersecurity space. If you look at some of the most renowned hackers globally, very few of them have gone to class to study cybersecurity, to study technology, because a lot of these things are self-taught. There are a lot of tools available in the industry that can really support those practices. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach to build a skill force that is ready for the mission of protection of the cyberspace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just by extension, to talk about cybersecurity training, I think having practical simulations and also lab exercises would really contribute a lot towards learning in cybersecurity. And not only that, also programs such as this one, conferences and even mentorship programs are very important for learning, and not just in a classroom setup, but also having different activities, like even having drills, just the same way we do fire drills. We could have fire drills on cybersecurity practices, which would go a long way in actually training people, and also other activities like capture the flag or even hackathons on cybersecurity would really contribute a lot to cybersecurity training.
Without belaboring any point, I would wish that, because today when you look at the curriculum, say for universities, I think there needs to be more alignment for us to get to update it to reflect what is happening currently. Of course, we appreciate some of the base units as an example, but I think there's room for alignment so much when it comes to what's happening in industry. That's one. But then secondly, when you talk about data sets, I know that's a big, big one, right? When you look at countries like Israel, for example, right? The universities that they have actually have tried so much to ensure that data for research is available. One of the biggest is on data set around security, right? For you to get the appropriate data for your models is a big one, right? Of course, there are those which are publicly available, but you may want customized data to answer to different use cases. So that is an area that I think will actually get to enhance our learning, because what we are seeing, still case in point, Israel as a case in point, most of the research items, even from undergrad or masters, are propelled to industry. And that's the reason why, even early 2020s, you could see, or mid, around 2018 thereabout, in terms of startups, right? In terms of startups, when you looked at the NASDAQ stock exchange, Israel was high up. Why? Because some of the items, some of the research items that they get, students get to initiate are propelled, right, and pushed to the industry. And that's a big one. So those three key points to me, I think is big around learning. Thank you.
So without being too repetitive, I think from cybersecurity, from a workforce perspective, the way I see it is, first of all, the mindset of the cybersecurity engineer, or it could be the architect, whatever that may be. The mindset is very important. The mindset, I know we're all in the area of cybersecurity talk about how we're securing things and we're limiting access and whatnot. But really, when you look at it from a broader picture, think of digital transformation across an organization, across the enterprise, could also go across government and whatnot. Cybersecurity needs to be an enabling force. It needs to be secure, but it needs to also enable the right systems to function, the right people to work and be productive. So I think that's one area that, from a workforce perspective, that's someone we need to look at. But broadly speaking, I think a multidisciplinary approach, I think, is becoming very important. Now, I come more from the United States, so what I'm seeing is that the person who is in the field may also be dealing with data analytics, maybe also dealing with programming, be able to understand um, machine learning techniques to be able to analyze, get insight from the data. So I think I'm more of a, let's take a multidisciplinary approach. I think from a training perspective, certainly the memberships, conferences like this, as well as I think we had speakers, the leadership yesterday from ISACA and the Kenyan chapter, and the actual certifications I think take people the long way. But ultimately, I think organizations, government and private sector, we need to be able to find a way to get people involved early, workforce involved early to participate and get their hands dirty, so to speak.
Thank you. We are going to get 3 questions from the audience. And any panelist can be able to answer any of the burning questions. Yeah, that number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Okay, I will add 2 more. You spoke. I'll pick the other one behind you. Was not spoken, and yes, sir. I will still get back to you. Please, panelists, just listen to the questions, and anyone can respond to the concerns or questions. Next question. Yeah, here.
How to exploit it. Such that you have not prosecute
One. Up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Speakers, kindly respond just to one question each. It's random. It's, yes.
I know there's a question directed to a central banker. Let me just take that. But I think for the sake of this discussion, my response in any way will not reflect on the position of the bank. Right? It's purely my perspective based on my profession. Right? So kindly accept that it is not the position of the bank or any government entity. Now, in terms of development, I think that is big because, again, as has been cited by the speakers and even by you, I know really for you to consolidate security programs, the people bit is very key, right? Both from staff perspective, board perspective, exco perspective, all these cadres needs to be trained appropriately for them to understand risk. The end game of each and every one of them being a risk manager, right? Because as we had said earlier, board and exco have the accountability around cyber. So that training needs to go down, and that risk needs to be highlighted to them. And that is when you make it even easier to motivate budget. Huh? You cannot get into buying technology without the buying from board, without the buying from management as well. So that awareness around risk or cyber risk is very, very critical. Now, when you get to actual staff training within the cyberspace, it is important that you map those roles, again, based on structure, based on business objectives, do a training needs analysis, and ensure you get to develop staff for them to be in a position to perform or to deliver on their assigned roles. That is big, right? Because unless you have red teamers trained on red teaming, then you can be sure that you will not deliver 100%, right? Unless you have blue teamers trained on the technologies, right? And indicators of compromise and how to get to protect, you can be so sure that you will not get your intended KPIs around the same, right? Now, once you have trained and your people are able to deliver on job, right? The biggest bit, or rather the biggest challenge is what you are talking about, right? Flight, churn rate too high for cyber, right? Very, very high. I can tell you, we've experienced even up to 10 leaving, up to 10 or even 8 living in a year. That is big. Because in a case you have a team of, say, 100, and you have 10 living, that is like 10% thereabout. So you really need to have one frameworks on how to get to retain. And one of them first is remuneration, right? Just like emerging technologies, guys who are specialists in the area, big data, AI, are well paid, right? Cyber guys also need to be well paid, right? So you need to have proper retention programs, right? From remuneration, right? Recognition programs, right? But the most challenging bit, which you need to keep pace with, because again, it's not money every other time. There's no entity that will always keep adding your 30%, or 20% to your basic. That is out. So the biggest for any organization is to avail to employees, right, training opportunities, such that at any given moment they feel challenged, right? Having a strategy to ensure that at any given moment, staff are trained to meet expectations of the business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to attempt, who earlier asked about the process instead of the human interface. I think that we should clearly understand cybersecurity, know how it operates. from my perspective, cyber is the internet, security is your network. And you can't marry the two without having to understand that there has to be a framework. Yes, human interface indeed is important, but there has to be a framework that had been adopted by management, processes had been outlined, then you'll understand what to do. Many a time when you're an IT person, it is understood that obviously you'll be a tech person who knows much about security. Training will come. In as much as training will come, let's not lose sight of that, or the fact that we have data. Then data protection will also be there. So what are you securing? Data. So cybersecurity, data protection, both marries. I know European Union passed a framework, cybersecurity framework, that some African countries have adopted. But before you even go into the space, management must adopt some framework that outlines the processes in the industry you find yourself working.
Allow me to respond to two questions from two delegates. One is on the competence of the boards to address the cybersecurity issues within the various organizations. I wish to say that if you look at boards of public sector entities, they're really bound by certain guidelines, which are, of course, outlined in Mwongozo and others. But then going forward, before I think there has been reliance on assumptions and goodwill that the board members would see some of these issues. And again, as fate had it, cybersecurity discussions have moved from equipment rooms or server rooms by the ICT into boardrooms. So now we look at the cybersecurity governance, risk management, and compliance issues being a direct responsibility of the boards. So what has happened in the Kenyan ecosystem, for example, is that the responsibilities have been outlined and have been explained in the regulations. I'm talking about the cybersecurity regulations, which were enacted this year. So then that gives the board the mandate and the responsibility for availing adequate resources for cybersecurity initiatives. Again, it provides the board with the mandate of oversight of cybersecurity, and that goes with issues of reporting, as well as issues of making sure that there is a responsible, competent person and capabilities for those in the critical information infrastructure business. You need to have capabilities of cybersecurity operation centers. That is outlined in the law. So we are seeing a lot of movement, a lot of transition of board members, and we are supporting initiatives to give them a lot of sensitization as well as any technical skills that they know. I can confirm a few boards have reached out to us as NC4, and we've been able to build capacity to them. One of them, some of the boards have actually appointed one of the board members to be responsible for cybersecurity within those organizations. Now, on the issue of the young graduates from USIU, yes, what you've said is absolutely true. And I think this is the reason why we are seated here at University of Nairobi Towers. You know, that's what Towers was coined very well by the architect of this building. So from this tower, we are discussing what is a collaborative framework that the government, industry, and academia can have so that we can improve on the cybersecurity workforce. The challenge is, and the academia we are here, I am part of the academia, I'm talking about the traditional academia, is that the products from the academia are really hands-off. So the technical skills are theoretical, and the practical skills they obtain are wanting. Again, what we are doing about that is that in terms of intervention as NC4 is that the law has come up to prescribe that we need to have, as a nation, national cybersecurity standards, which includes national cybersecurity training guide, which will form the basis for development of curriculum and delivery of training. We liken this to training in medicine, training in engineering, where every institution that is providing training in medicine and engineering must have adequate practical training resources. So we are seeing that taking shape soon. I think that that guide is being developed. So very soon, all universities, all institutions providing training must demonstrate adequate training aids to give the hands-on skills that the industry so requires. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, 2 minutes. Okay, we are going to open a channel for Q&A when we come back from break, and we will be able to push in our questions, and they'll be answered at a session that is has been set aside for Q&A. Derek, 2 minutes.
So mine is a bit short. So there's one question that came. Should we allow threat hunting? This is, again, I would say data is one thing that has given us hell lots of sleep. So opening it up is what would be one of the biggest vulnerabilities. That is, that's why we also have solutions to. So basically what a hacker would do would come to environment. Some would come for gain, in terms of publicity. Some would come for the dollar gain. Then we also have white hackers. Doesn't mean they cannot go wrong. So most of the time, have white hackers go wrong, where you only a white hacker because maybe I'm part of your red team. I test your system. Once I test your system, it goes to the. But again, opening up this data, and you get to a point where we can have some of these solutions or in some of the institutions, and they don't even want to be used as a reference point because that's already a vulnerability. When we open it up, I think for sure that would be a great threat, and we can what I just presented before.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I'll
yeah.
Just wind up on Kamau's. So on that point of training, I think that's a space that's always very confusing. And again, from a vendor and technology perspective, I would actually want us to alliance in terms of the university. Cyber Pro 2. We can always have some 2 hours, 1 hour. We can always go through sessions. We have those labs that we go for free. We have technologies that we have interfaces that you can play with and can give you more.
Thank you very much. Let's give a loud clap to our. That's just a sneak peek of the skills. Your questions will be answered. Any question that you have on cybersecurity, industry workforce will be answered. Thank you very much. Please, our panelists, you can get back to your seats as I hand over to.
So much. You guys are feeling hungry. I think it's in order when we break for our tea break, we take probably not more than 15 minutes. Then we come back for more juice. I think we can leave and our speakers can use this path and route. Then the delegates and other attendees can use